Is the administration trying to come up with a plan to support small businesses who can't manufacture in the United States?
The inflation was down, way down in the CPI report today, and it was a month, April, where we had about 20 billion in tariffs. And the story that everybody's been saying is, oh, those tariffs are going to cause prices to go way up. They're going to harm consumers. But clearly, we got the revenue. That's good for Treasury rates, and it didn't cause inflation. And so,
miserable Jake Tapper gets handled a calm, smooth lesson from our National Economic Council, aka CPA accountant guy, Kevin Hassett from the Trump administration. He just gives off this tax guy vibe. He doesn't get volatile. He doesn't try to be charismatic. He's just like, boom, boom, boom. Here's the facts. Well, Jake, think about this. Well, Jake, it's actually refreshing to hear. And you're going to hear right away how Jake Tapper tries to start it out with a little lie. He tries to blend in the same sentence, a contradiction. You'll see what I mean. It's SeanDaniel here, and if you think Jake Tapper has better hair than me, consider hitting that like button. I mean, I'm hitting the like button right now. I know the truth.
President Trump managing to cool tensions in his global trade war with this week's major, yet temporary, 90-day agreement with China. Worries about future economic instability, of course, are still plaguing Americans and American business leaders. Joining us now to discuss, the director of President Trump's National Economic Council at the White House, Kevin Hassett. Kevin, good to see you. Thanks so much. So we've been talking to small business owners all over the country, left, right, center, pro-Trump, not so much, et cetera, et cetera. My guest today said his toy company was hit with $100 million in tariffs. Many of our guests are struggling to adapt. Is the administration trying to come up with a plan to support small businesses who can't manufacture in the United States, who have tried, but it's just not there, the infrastructure is not there, so that these businesses don't go out of business and or costs are not passed on to consumers?
Thing to note, he said small business and then quoted his guest who said he got $100 million in tariffs. You don't have a small business if you get hit with $100 million in tariffs. You see how smart and wise you got to be when you watch CNN to see how they twist things?
Well, when I look at the real hard data, Jake, then one of the things I'm seeing is the core GDP was about 3%. The jobs numbers are very positive. There's lots of wage growth. Capital spending was up 20% in the first quarter, which means that there's a lot of onshoring going on. And I think in addition, we've got something like $5 trillion in hard commitments and a whole bunch more. We got $600 billion more from the Saudis today to create jobs in America, to build businesses in America. And the momentum is super positive. And so the sentiment data is going to catch up with the real data. The real data are strong. And imagine that inflation was down, way down in the CPI report today. And it was a month, April, where we had about 20 billion in tariffs. And the story that everybody's been saying is, oh, those tariffs are going to cause prices to go way up. They're going to harm consumers. But clearly, we got the revenue. That's good for Treasury rates, and it didn't cause inflation. And so I understand that there are individual people with stories that are going to affect them. They're going to have to change their business model some. That's what happens when you onshore production in America and put America workers first.
Sure. Okay. But we talked to a guy today. He owns an educational toy company in Illinois. He's tried to create incentives for there to be manufacturing in the United States. It fails. And he's facing so many tariffs that he doesn't know what he's going to do. 500 families depend on that business. We talked to another guy in Virginia the other day. They manufacture lithium batteries that are the ingredients, the core ingredients, only come from China. He would love to have the manufacturing ability. The big automakers have it, but he doesn't have it because he makes these small batteries, or he gets these small batteries for what he does, having to do with motorcycles and race cars. There are small businesses hurting who do not think that this pain is going to go away anytime soon. Is there any plan for relief for them?
Well, there's an enormous plan right now, and it's in the reconciliation package, Jake. If you look at the fact that we've got expensing for equipment investment in the U.S., we've got expensing for factories that are built in the U.S. You know, it used to be you had to write them off over 39 years. Now you can expense them right away. And so there's never been a bigger stimulus effort to bring jobs and employment home. And I think that the folks that you talk to should look at the tax bill and study it, because there's so much in there for them. And so, yes, there is a plan. There is a plan. That's in addition to making great trade deals. And we've got, you know, UK, we've got China, we've got 24, 25 that on tap for the next few weeks. And so we got all these deals coming out that are lowering the rates, giving people the certainty that they want. And we've also got the big, beautiful tax bill coming that's going to be incentive enough for people to onshore more production and more factories. And the fact that you could already see it, like in the State of the Union, you might recall President Trump said that the expensing was going to be retroactive to the 20th of January. And that's where the 20% boom in the first quarter came. And so the tax cuts are already working, even though they're not in effect yet, because President Trump said they'd be retroactive.
And before we break down what Kevin said and how Jake responded and how he can't be trusted after all the stuff he said good about Biden and now what his book says, check out how Kevin also went on CNN again and even made the host laugh. Something Jake Tapper is not available to do. His physiological body does not give the smile reaction.
What are these Republicans on the Budget Committee doing? Are they grandstanding, as the president seemed to suggest there?
Well, it's actually interesting to go back to studying the way the process works. So the Budget Committee writes the rules, and then all the other committees obey those rules and send the bill back to the Budget Committee to sew them all together and then get it to the floor. And so all the bills that went to the Budget Committee followed the Budget Committee's rules in the first place. And so now, after that, apparently some members of the Budget Committee think that it's appropriate to change the rules that they themselves wrote. I think when President Trump lands later this evening, I'm sure he's going to be making some phone calls. I've heard that there's another meeting coming up on Sunday. And that my guess is that by Sunday this is fixed. This is the kind of thing that happens in legislation, and I don't think anyone should think the big but beautiful bill isn't going to pass. It's going to pass.
You're laughing. Is that because I get the sense you may be imagining what those conversations between the president when he lands and these members of Congress may be like? Yeah. What might that be?
When you're trying to, well, I guess just the point is that when you're taking a position that's the opposite of your own position, and then just sort of putting gum in the works, then, you know, that's a conversation that's difficult to have with anyone. It'll certainly be difficult for them to have it with the president if they don't change their mind by like around 9 o'clock tonight.
So even though Kevin looks like a pretty typical tax guy, accountant guy, he can be funny because he knows Trump is going to lay into these guys who are fighting his budget bill. Now back to Jake. He has some logical points about, hey, these businesses and the cost of things could probably go up because they're used to getting their products so cheap for China. But I did not know, and I hope you guys just learned, in the new budget bill, just how many little things the Trump administration, Kevin Hassett, are trying to include in it so that we can have more incentive for people to build in America, because it's not that easy to just change your whole production line in an instant to avoid some tariffs. But if they can make, like he said, where you can expense out your production costs in building the factories versus he's saying tax-wise you could only have that as a longer expense where you wrote it. That's basically the layman's term for it. You guys can probably explain it more in the comments. That's really cool to hear how the Trump administration is doing that. But my main question about this interview, can you trust anything that comes out of Jake Tapper's mouth now, after what we've learned about how positively he talked about Biden, how much he questioned everyone who talked about Biden's decline, and now he's writing a book after Trump wins, after most of the country loves Trump, and after the truth is out there about Biden's mental decline, and he's writing a book on it that even CNN doesn't like so he can make money. Can we trust him anymore the way he's totally flip-flopped on his position? I always knew we couldn't. I mean, the guy always looks miserable. He's always attacking Trump. But now, I don't trust him at all. And I cannot believe he's still going to have his job at CNN because his book is doing the opposite of what his network has been trying to do for 4 years and is going to continue to do for the next 4 years. It's Sean Daniel here. If you guys enjoyed the video, consider hitting that like button or subscribing for some more, and I will see you in the next one. If you enjoy the video, consider hitting that like button, or no, not if you enjoy the video. If you think my hair, no, let's do this again.